Welcome to episode 63 of the Necronama.com. I am James Sabata, horror author, screenwriter, co-host of the podcast you're listening to right now, and we are recording this on Skype because I'm fucking terrified of Zoom now.
And I'm Don Guillory, author, historian, educator, co-host of this podcast. I'm not looking forward to the semester when it starts at the end of the month because only classes I have are going to be delivered via Zoom, and it's unsettling already.
Not a safe place anymore.
Not at all. In related news, I'm looking for a new co-host starting very soon after Dawn is killed. So
I won't be killed. I'll be on the astral plane.
There you go. Drink.
I can't drink this much. We have two guests joining us today. We have Haley Bishop.
Hello.
Haley, how are you doing today?
I'm very well. How are you?
Oh, man, doing great. We're so excited that you guys are here. Of course, writer and producer Jed Shepherd is here as well. So thank you both for being here.
Yes, thanks for having us, James and Don. Pleased to be here.
Yeah.
Why don't you guys start by telling our audience a little bit about yourselves?
Sure. So, my name's Jed, and I write mostly horror movies and sometimes produce them too. And for this particular project, we essentially had a WhatsApp group called the Quarantine Movie Club. And the Quarantine Movie Club is made up of just our mates. And every single day during lockdown, from the start of lockdown, we would watch a film on Netflix, and we would use Netflix Party. I don't know if you've used that before, but it's a kind of a group way to watch a film and comment alongside it while you're watching it. It's really cool. And every day I would make a poster for it as well, and it became a bit of a thing. And then it was probably about a month and a half in or so, the director, Rob Savage, called me up and said, "Right, Jen, I've got an idea. I want to prank our friends." And we were Zooming every single day anyway. We were talking all day, every day, like we still do.
We utilized
it. Okay, cool. Yeah, so he was like, "This is what I'm going to do." And he took me through it. He wanted to essentially set in motion a story whereby everyone would believe that there's someone in his attic. He's kind of moved into a new flat, and he'd seeded this for weeks, that he's hearing a noise from upstairs.
And he was living by himself.
He was, his girlfriend is off in America. So he showed me what he was going to do. He would get a ladder, go up into the attic, and then he would very carefully cut a piece from the film Wreck, where a zombie kid jumps out, and then he would fall to the ground and he'd be dead and not move. And I was like, I don't think that's going to work. They're not going to fall for this. They're not going to fall. They're not stupid. But then, so like we tried it with each other 2 or 3 times until we got it perfect. And then we were like, okay, let's just test this out on our friends. And I was like, shall I record it? And he was like, yeah. So press record, invite everyone into the chat. And they thought it was a normal chat. We did 5 minutes of small talk. And all of a sudden he was like, oh, I'm hearing stuff in my attic again. And then luckily someone said, oh, you should check it out while we're on Zoom, Rob.
He had planted it. Sorry to interrupt. He had planted it the week before. And right as we were ending a Zoom call, to be like, oh, there's something in my attic. And we were all like, oh, next time we're all together, we'll investigate it with you, because you shouldn't go up by yourself, because we're very good people.
True.
We're
and
such
it's so
nice
good
friends.
It's so good that you guys said that. It didn't come from me or him, or you would probably know it's fake.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
So he did it, and it got the reaction we wanted, and we cut it into a 2-minute video, and we put it online, not thinking it would get much traction. Across all of the places that it's at, it's got close to 7 million views now. And it's off the back of that 2-minute weird, stupid prank video with our friends that we got offers to make a longer version from various different places. And because me and Rob had made multiple kind of horror shorts before, we were kind of like the guys to go to who are potentially going to like do something big next. Anyway, so we spoke to Shudder, who straight away were incredible. And the thing is, you don't know how to. We didn't really know how to make something that's a 2-minute prank video into a film. So I said to him, like, Rob, leave it with me, because it's usually I come up with the kernel of the idea and then we go back and forth. And he went to sleep, and I was up at like 4 a.m, and it just came to me. And how Rob says it is he woke up like 9 a.m. the next day. He looked at his phone, and it's just 2 words: Zoom seance. And he took those 2 words to Shudder and was just like, Zoom seance. And they gave us the money we needed to make it, gave us all the control. They were the nicest people to let us do something, because we're kind of an unknown quantity as well. We're making it with our friends in lockdown. No, there's no infrastructure for this kind of thing before.
Yeah, there wasn't even like a full written script you could have sent to Shudder to say, okay, here's line by line what's going to happen. It was like they had to put their trust in you, but exactly. They sure are glad they did. Yeah,
well, yeah. So then you probably wonder how you get from the point of it's 12 weeks altogether from the point I said Zoom seance to the point it was released on Shudder in the form you see.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So essentially we only wanted to use people who were within this WhatsApp group, our friends, and we've worked with these actresses before, sometimes multiple times, with our shorts. Hayley, Radina, and Caroline worked together on a film called Dawn of the Deaf, which did Sundance and I think over 120 film festivals. Crazy, tiring times, and and then Gemma and Emma were on a film that I directed that's going to be out in a couple of months called Multiplex.
We were all in that, though.
Well, yeah, all the girls. It's just so handy. Like now, Host is blown up. It's going to be really good for Multiplex because all the girls are in that as well.
It'll be free publicity all around for Multiplex.
I'm so happy, honestly. So it was very easy to cast the girls because it was always going to be them, and that's the beauty of Shudder. They just didn't question it at all. We were like, they didn't know if these girls were going to be great or not, but they trusted us that we wouldn't just put any other person into it. And luckily, in this WhatsApp group, you have one of the best VFX people in the country. You also have some of the best stunt guys going as well. You have an amazing costume lady as well.
We've got a full, Lexi.
We've got the entire cast and crew within this WhatsApp group, and all we've been doing for the first 6 weeks is playing pub quiz games and watching rubbish movies on Netflix. So now it's time to it kind of very slowly shifted into something that was nothing into something that was actually tangible. And we recorded every single little bit, by the way. We recorded every meeting, the very first meeting that we came and spoke about it. We got in another writer to help me and Rob called Gemma Hurley, who feels like she's been part of the group the entire time.
Yeah.
And she's amazing. And what Gemma added is me and Rob are really good with horror, set pieces, putting in references to all of our favourite things, and coming up with the basic skeleton of a character arc. What Gemma Hurley brought to it is flesh out that a bit more and make the characters feel a bit more believable and have proper character arcs, which I'm more like, let's scare the crap out of people, but she's more like, why? Like,
let's make you want to care about us.
Exactly. So we're a really good team together, and I've got to shout out our producer who's produced all of the stuff we've done before, called Douglas Cox, he's just magic. He just managed to, he's managed to make this movie himself. He's the glue that's kind of put all of these weird disparate pieces together into an amazing package. This weird Rubik's cubes of weirdness. And then Hayley, I don't know if you want to talk about the actual process of making it, of being a cast member, and how.
Yeah. So I'm Hayley Bishop. I'm one of the I play Hayley. If you made the connection, I play Gemma. It was very interesting. We got a call from Rob and Jed, after this prank, being like, "Oh, do you guys want to jump on Zoom? We need to talk to you about something." We're like, "Haha, not falling for that again." But then, curiosity gets the better of you, and they're begging and saying, "Oh no, it's not a prank, it's not a prank," and they pitch us.
Gemma didn't want to come on, and I was like, "Gemma, you really do want to come on to this video?" She's like, no, I'm not coming on. So I had to like persuade her 6 times. She probably wouldn't even be in this movie if she hadn't like gone, oh, all right, because I asked her 6 times.
Yeah.
But,
We're glad she came on. We jumped on the call with you guys, and they said, oh, the prank video went viral. Shudder has offered us some money to make a film. Do you guys want to be in it? And we're all like, definitely, like no questions asked. Sure. Like sign me up right now. Cause we've all worked with Jed and Rob so many times now that it's just a no brainer. If you guys haven't seen Dawn of the Deaf and you haven't, Multiplex when it's out, and you'll see that, and Salt, like everything they do, in my opinion, turns to gold because it's all genius. So we jump in and we're like, yeah, great. Cool. When are we doing this? Thinking it's going to be in 3 months when lockdown's over, later this year or something. And they're like, cool. So we're probably going to start filming next week. And it'll be for like a couple weeks. And we're like, oh, okay. And how are we doing this? And like, everything is going to be in your home. So we need you to, you're now going to have to be your own DP, your own lighting department, your own continuity. Like you have to do kind of everything, which was very daunting at first, but then very exciting, I think, for all of us as actors, because we did, get to have that responsibility of, okay, we got to set up make sure our lighting is the same and the correct lighting shot, and making sure as the filming goes along, we press record and we haven't missed any amazing takes, which did happen a few times. I unfortunately lost some footage. It's okay. It was no big deal. But yeah, it was really, I think, like, we filmed everything over Zoom. We had, we were sent, we're constantly just getting these packages from Dougie saying, oh, there's something arriving today, a courier sending you this, a courier. So they sent us microphones that we had to then set up. And, okay, you're getting an iPhone. So we had to Velcro iPhones behind our computer screen so that we kind of had both kind of viewpoints, so we could watch ourselves while we were on Zoom, because we filmed everything over Zoom with Rob and Dougie just on, they would black out their screens, but they would be with us. So Rob was directing us through Zoom. But then a lot of the footage is actually from the iPhone. So we could have, we could do the stunts and we can do kind of the cooler stuff in a higher quality, so that Steve, our amazing VFX supervisor, wasn't in too much pain later on when he had to then paint out everybody and fix all of our little mistakes. So we shot that. I think we shot like consecutively for a week and a half, maybe. And it was just, go talk, I feel like you probably know, Jed, I feel like the initial runtime of the film was like well over 2 hours, because we just were talking about all the random things that we wanted to talk about as a group of friends, really. And then we got to do some stunts. I got to do a stunt in my house, which was very fun. Probably one of my favorite days I've ever had on set, which happened to just be waking up, in my own home. But we had Nathaniel Martin, who is our stunt coordinator and also a great friend. We got lucky because I'm based in London, even though I'm American. And he, London's lockdown kind of ended roughly, not ended, but loosened up, kind of a perfect timing where we were allowed to do work things together, but in full PPE. So, we were able to have a stunt team come over to the house and show me how to fall and rig me up so that I could be ripped down my hallway. And, bless my boyfriend for also helping out a lot with just dragging his girlfriend across the floor. She's screaming and crying.
I mean, we don't normally get people thanking people for that on the show, but that's
a very unique situation. My poor neighbors, I live in an apartment, little block, and having to go up to your neighbor's house to say, oh, I'm really sorry if you hear a lot of screaming and it sounds like I'm dying in my apartment. Just know that I'm not. I'm doing a horror film. And they're like, oh yeah, okay, cool. Have fun with that horror film, girl. Can't wait to tell them that it's now gotten to this level, but I'm also worried I haven't warned them that I'm finished filming, and so if I do happen to be, being murdered in my house, they're not coming down for me.
You might want to let them know.
Do that. Now I'm thinking about it. I should definitely do that soon.
Yeah, and on that point about the runtime, obviously, I think it was over 180 hours were filmed, by the way, across all of the girls. And the editor Brenner, she had to like find a way to find. Obviously, Rob had his like best kind of selects out of the scenes, and it was following a structure that we created. But still, it's a lot of stuff to do in a very short period of time because we wanted this to be released in July. We just had July in our mind, even though people were telling us it's impossible, never been done before. This whole thing's never been done before.
Yep.
But so it got it down. What we wanted it to be is the free Zoom call limit is 40 minutes. So me and Rob was like, wouldn't it be funny if it ended on 40 minutes, like a real Zoom call? So in the kind of film time, it's 40 minutes for the girls, but in kind of we're watching this 56 minutes, and that 56 minutes has been all over the internet, like normalized 56-minute movies, and like this is the perfect.
Me.
Yeah,
me 100%.
To be honest, it is the perfect time for a horror film. It doesn't outstay its welcome. It's it's crazy. But
you get in and out.
Yeah, but like it reminds me because when I first met Hayley, we were at this it's weird, it's this puppet speed dating thing where you basically go and you do speed dating and you make puppets. It's and then when you sit across from each other, you kind of you play with these puppets, and it's kind of a weird way to kind of break the ice. But the whole thing like lasted roughly 56 minutes, so it was something that we brought up quite a lot. That this was 56 minutes as well, and there's a puppet in the movie, so
it's kind of like seeing life just come full circle. It's very nice.
Yeah, it's cool.
Life imitating art, art imitating life.
Yeah, well, and a lot of films do Easter eggs, and I know there's a couple in yours. And so, like, having an Easter egg that's really for your friends is kind of cool. Because, like I wouldn't know that if we weren't having this conversation. You know what I mean? So, like, I think that's really neat. I put a lot of stuff in my writing that's just there to entertain certain people. So.
Yeah.
I think we counted, and it's probably going to be more than this. There's probably, I think it's 117 Easter eggs and, like, references to, like, other things. In the first 5 minutes, there's probably 20 to 25 like.
Oh God! I thought you were saying there was 117 in the first 5 minutes.
No.
I don't even know some of these. Oh my God! I need to give. Guys, I gotta go watch the film again.
It's just little things. Like my favorite movie of all time is Night of the Comet, a 1984 kind of like classic about the kind of end of the world and these two valley girls, which I love. And if you notice when Hayley first logs on, the password is DMK, and if you've seen Night of the Comet, DMK is a 3-digit word that means a lot to that film, to fans of that film. So that was just that was almost like Rob's gift to me because he knows like I love Night of the Comet so much. And also the participant ID is 311092. Which is the date that Ghostwatch came out. And I don't know if you've seen the film Ghostwatch. It's a UK found footage movie that came out and people thought it was real. And a bunch of people actually committed suicide off the back of it. So it's really controversial.
Wow.
Yeah, it was banned till like the early 2000s. But it's a big influence for hosts. So that's one of the many things. The other thing that no one's seen this yet, but you know that bit where Caroline is, and this is spoilerific, you know the bit where Caroline is banging her head and 13 messages kind of, you see 13.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So someone today, they transcribed all 13 of those things. And yeah, it's funny. And I'm a big fan of Mr. Bean. And which is weird, I know a lot of Americans are, there's a particular anagram stroke password puzzle solver thing online, and if you plug those things into that, you get the theme song from Mr. Bean, the lyrics for it. But no one's really found that yet. But so it's just things that amuse us. Really.
I think
that's amazing.
It's like some of the, I guess, the beauty of the film, especially for us as the filmmakers, is that we had so much freedom to just have a great time with it. Like filming was so much fun. We just being on with your friends, and like, we'd have people kind of pop in and out too between takes just to say hi, because you're on Zoom and you can just like come into a meeting and then leave. And so, we're like, oh, we're having to watch our friend die on screen, and so we're sobbing and crying and yelling, and then all of a sudden you just see Jed's face pop in to be like, hey, how's it going? And we're like, oh, it's great. I'm having a great time. This is so much fun. But
that's something that's like, so the girls only got their kind of sides. Their scripts were redacted, so they didn't know who was going to die next, really, or how they were going to die. So when you say their reactions, a lot of the time it's the real reactions of seeing their friend die on screen. We did all of the deaths first. That was recorded first, so we could play them in live while they were on chat together, so we could see real reactions. That's
cool.
Yeah.
So Emma's reaction when Teddy is burning, and that's a real burn, by the way.
Yeah.
His face is really burned. It's not CGI. Emma's reaction to that, I think, is one of the best kind of like scared reactions I've seen, and it almost makes me want to cry when I see her crying, because I'm just like, this is her really seeing her friend who she knows burned to a crisp.
Yeah.
It's sadistic, really, but like it's.
But it works. Yeah, in any other circumstance, you'd be like, "Wow, that's a bit fucked up, Rob." But for us as actors, it was brilliant because you never get, half the time you have to imagine, either if you're doing something with heavy VFX, which some of this stuff did take a whole team, you have to imagine it on set. You can't. It's a green screen, or it's going to be put in later once you've done this. You got to work off your imagination. It was brilliant for us as actors, I think, because we did have to shoot everything ahead of time. So either if it was your death, you kind of were waiting and kind of like, oh, and like, I know what's going to happen, because we wouldn't be on screen watching that scene because he'd be playing and it was fun to watch people react. Or if you're reacting to your friend's death, then you get to see it as it's happening in real time, which makes it just feel so much worse, which then gives the performance so much more authenticity, which is wonderful.
And that's the key word, authenticity. What we wanted to do is we wanted this to feel as real as possible. And again, Blair Witch Project was obviously a big influence for us. So that's why they're all using their real names, because one of the many reasons, actually. But in Blair Witch, Heather Donahue uses her real name, and it feels more real because you really sense she's reacting to when people's calling her name, and it just feels more real. And when you see these girls who have been friends for years interact with each other and say each other's names, there is an air of authenticity there. And it also goes towards the graphical user interface of Zoom. We got Zoom's permission to use their graphics, so we didn't have to make up a crazy fake Zoom name like you would get in like a sitcom or something. You have real Zoom, and these are real friends doing real experiences.
Yeah, it was. Oh no, go ahead.
I honestly just expected that it was that way, because then if you fucked it up, and you said Haley instead, and then you'd have to edit it out. So
it definitely helped. I was going to say we did contemplate at one point, because I think all of us were a bit like, oh, I don't know if I want to use my real name because we're playing a character, and I don't want people to think I'm exactly like this person.
Yeah. Haley said that to me a few times. Yeah.
I was like, oh, but then you realize that actually it made, especially when we're not just acting, we have to, we're operating the camera as well as I'm walking around the house and having to make sure that I'm hitting the right points with my computer and with my phone. You're like, oh yeah, let's just take away one step that I don't need to remember a bunch of fake names as well, so that I can have a little ease in my performance, because I'm just speaking, that's one less thing I have to think about. So it worked out really well in the end.
Yeah, I thought it was cool.
Thanks.
So let me jump to Don. Don, tell me what you thought of this film and what you really liked, and what this did for you, because I did watch it sooner than you, and I've been purposely not talking to you until you watched it.
Oh man,
which is unusual for us. It's very hard for us.
I thought it was because of the seance and the wish that I got from that. We didn't have to talk for a day.
That might be it.
For me, I went in blind because, we have a bunch of friends who are just really horror, and they would post about it. And when I first saw a post about it, I was like, you guys are just now getting to that Korean horror movie? Because I thought they were watching The Host. And
can I just quickly say something about that? Yeah. Just as you brought it up, just quickly. everyone said don't use the name host because of the Bong Joon-ho movie.
Right.
And I was so adamant. I was like, no, it has to be host, or I get really kind of like fixated on a name. It's like host, it has so many different connotations. It's host or nothing, or we scrap the movie. That's how I was. And I remember Dougie, our amazing producer, was like, do you have any alternative names, Jed? I'm like, nope, that's the one name, and that's the name we're going with, because I can't get it out of my mind now. It's like with Dawn of the Deaf, people said we shouldn't use Dawn of the Deaf. I'm like, that's the name that's going to get like news, and then people will kind of like it. So yeah, so
that name's fucking awesome.
Thank you. Sorry, Don. Keep going.
No. I was gonna say, because at first I was like, well, they're just getting around to seeing this movie. I was like, okay, well, good for them. And then I saw that it was like, oh, it's a new movie on Shudder, and then I just didn't read any commentary, because right in the comment thread would be the spoilers about whatever was going on. The only thing James told me to do was, when you watch it, just watch it in a dark room. So instead of watching on my computer, I went and into the little movie room I set up, and I watched it. And I was like, okay, I see what he means, because there's stuff that you will miss if you don't have the right lighting or the appropriate lighting in the film. But I love the idea of taking something that is fairly new to everyone with respect to Zoom, and doing this with it, and being the first to actually make that jump to it, as opposed to a lot of films. It's just it's cell phones or electric cars, or it's all, or even with the Blair Witch Project, the use of GPS to help them make the film, as opposed to that's the thing that's going to drive the film and determine exactly what's going to happen to these characters. And so I like the way it was done, to where they're all meeting to have a seance. And at that moment, I was like, oh, you guys fucked up. Oh, you guys fucked up. You can't do a seance over Zoom. What's wrong with you? But even with the medium that gets called in, I love how they completely set up the I don't want to do this, and the whole idea of I want to do this, I need to do this, and then you have, I think it was Gemma who was saying, who was in on it, but then she takes the first opportunity to fuck around with it. And I love that part, because it even got me, because I'm sitting there like, oh shit, what touched her? What happened? Who grabbed her? And then she gives that great story, and I was even mad, because it's like, they got me. Completely got me.
Hang on, I want to talk about You Got Me for a second, because this was my experience, all right? So number one, when I saw that Rebecca McHenry said that this movie scared her, I was like, I've known Rebecca for 5 or 6 years.
She's so cool.
And I've never heard her say anything scared her. So I was like, what the fuck is this film? I got to see this now. And on the off chance that I'm quoting her incorrectly, she might have just said it had some great jump scares or something. But whatever she said, I have never seen before.
I think she said it scared the living crap out of her.
Yeah, that's what she put on Twitter.
I think so, but I don't want to misquote her. So I'm going to go with that. We're all going to agree she said it scared the living crap out of her. So when I saw that, I was like, I got to see this now. and I pushed everything else. I was recording another episode, and I was like, you got to wait. I got to see this post now. And I went in this spare bedroom where I'm at right now, because this is where I record and where I write and everything else. I had all the lights off because my wife and daughter were going to bed. And I watched it on my computer, because I'm like, it's Zoom. I got to watch this on my computer just to really kick it up, right?
Yeah. I
get to that part where Salen cuts out. And my wife knocked on the fucking bedroom door.
Uh-oh.
I'm literally, I'm just sitting here like, what the fuck? Because it wasn't like a normal knock. It was like this little tiny light tap.
Oh, God.
And I'm like, what is happening? And then the door starts opening, and I'm just sitting here like I hit pause, and I'm just staring at the door. And then my wife's like, hey, you doing anything? And I'm like, hi. And she comes in and she's like, are you watching that movie that scared Rebecca? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, did I scare you? No.
That's so cool.
And she hasn't stopped bringing it up in a few days now. So
amazing.
That's so cool. I love that.
The one thing I regret about this movie, and James will probably agree with me on this, is that you can't see it in a theater with a group of people, at least in the States, because we have people who apparently don't understand science here, and
like Americans,
selflessness, because this would play out great, because we saw Unfriended, Friend Request in the theater, and there were some great moments in those movies where you had these cool jump scares, or even moments where you see something move in the background of the screen. But I think this would have played so great on the big screen, especially when that first knock with Salen, when I'm sorry, the second knock, and she says, "Oh, can you do that again?" And there are the two knocks. She's, "Oh, that's my delivery again." Just the humor that goes along with it, as well as those I don't even want to call them jump scares, those moments where you can feel the pure fright in the person on the screen.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
I feel like jump scares are forced, and that's exactly what I wanted to say. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off, Jed. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, just quickly on the jump scares thing, I'm in total agreement about jump scares. I think that's it's lazy to use them in a lot of bad horror movies are just littered with jump scares, and loud noises do not equal fear to me. It's just a loud noise, and the human reaction is to react to a loud noise. That's not scary. Mm-hmm. What's scary is if you earn the jump scare, if you've done something to seed it, and then you have a build up to it, and then you have a payoff. That's the best way to do a jump scare, where it's paying off something from before, and the kind of ending sequence is seeded like way in advance. But yeah, with the Salen thing, did you see anything before the phone was cut off?
Yes.
Yeah.
I went back after the incident with my wife, and I just kept trying to pause it and see it, and obviously you can't see it well, but but skipping ahead to the end and the jump scare there, that is an effective use of jump scare to me, because I'm literally counting down with the clock. Like, I know what's coming, and I thought that is so much more effective than a typical jump scare, because I am sitting there going, oh, there's still 5 seconds. It's not yet, and I'm counting down 1, 3, 2, 1. And then when it hit, I was still like, oh, what the fuck?
Haley's action figure will come with a little camera, with a little Polaroid camera, I'm sure. If you ever had an action figure, Haley.
Yeah,
I will say,
man, I want one of those. Can someone make me an action figure of myself? That would be a dream.
Haley, if you put it on Twitter, someone definitely will.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I will say it took me 6 tries to pause it on the jump scare at the end before I finally nailed it.
I can't do
that
it.
thing is creepy as fuck, man.
We had to do ADR to just put in some extra screams, because apparently wasn't enough, and that was the first time. So when even when I was filming that's not practical. That's put in later. And so even when I was watching it to do the ADR, no one told me that was going to happen. They were just like, can you just do some ADR and do some breathing as you're walking down the hallway, maybe whisper something to Gemma, just put stuff in and we'll just, run the rest of the scene. And I was like, yeah, cool, no problem. La 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 la. And then just the blast of the creature at the end, I was like, you fuckers. I can't. And then I had to do it a bunch more times, and every single time I just had to close my eyes because I couldn't see it. And as we watched the full film with the cast and crew screening, and I think I'm the only one who knew that was coming, because of, as we said, we didn't see things that we weren't actually in the shots for. Mm-hmm. Oh man, I was just watching all the other girls to just be like, oh, and here it comes. My sadistic side is like, yes, you're going to be freaked out now too. But I still close my eyes. It's horrible.
Yeah. So I've got a couple of points off the back of that. So the whole sequence with the Polaroid camera in the dark, flashing, waiting to see something. That's from me and Rob are big fans of the Audrey Hepburn movie, Wait Until Dark. Have you seen that?
Yes.
And there's a sequence in there that's very, very similar to that. And I love Audrey Hepburn, and I guess you were in that Audrey Hepburn role there, Haley, playing a...
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll take it, man.
yeah, so we kind of pay homage to some of our like favorite movies throughout it. But what was the other thing you said? You said about the jump scare?
I just said that it took me like 6 tries to pause it and look at the thing. And I got to tell you, I got to the point where I like once I finally got there, I was like, why did I do this? This is worse than if I had just left it. Like, what have I done? And then I had to go to bed after this. And then, like 4 hours after that, I got some sleep. No. But yeah, no, I love what I saw when I finally got it paused.
Yeah. And that's one of the Easter eggs that people are having fun finding. All of the moments where you see Jack, the infamous Jack that Gemma kind of manifests, or did she? That's another theory that's
a fun theory that's come out of this. That
potentially, we'll come on to that in a second. But yeah, we've hidden that demon entity thing in numerous places, and I don't think everyone's got all of them yet because some of them are real flashes. But there is a theory going around the last couple of days that, well, for one, why did Hayley want to do a seance? That's the first thing. Number two, she says she's done it before. She says she knows this medium. A medium's her friend, and I mean these are like subtext things which, because of the turnaround, we didn't even think that long and hard about. But then when you think about it, that's spooky. Like what's going on?
A sketchy character.
Yeah.
What's her true motives?
And you look so flustered at the start as well. It's like, why are you huffing and puffing and walking up and down your house and
changing clothes? Need to put a sweatshirt on. Need to take what?
Yeah.
Girl, why aren't you prepared?
Did you guys
we all know that Gemma just annoyed you, so I mean, you clearly could have been setting her up here. So
that's true.
Maybe it's a secret revenge. Who knows? I mean, there's definitely a backstory there that is a little darker than maybe the movie is giving way to.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like, because we're all such good friends, that there is no conflict within the group at all. Like, it's crazy to have a bunch of friends and that there's be zero conflict. So it was up to us. And one of the interesting things, and we recorded this as well, is we did a real seance with a real medium before we started filming. And so all of the girls, me, Rob, and Gemma the writer, and all of the cast. And we invited this real person to come on and go through a normal seance. And based on what we saw there, I would say 50% of it at least is in the actual seance. So and this is genuinely recorded. We have got something flying off Gemma's shelf, like while we're all watching. But first of all, she was feeling something on her, and then something flew off her shelf, and then she started like hyperventilating and crying, and it was crazy.
A massive bang.
Yeah, and then me and Rob were looking at each other like, "This is pure gold. This is gold." Like
this movie, you don't even need to film.
Yeah. We were just thinking, making of DVD, making of DVD. So we based a lot of that on the interaction within that seance, and because they've been through that situation before, it just feels real, and we knew the beats on what to kind of like write and which direction to go, and the dynamic in the group as well. And because Gemma Hurley, she wasn't part of the friendship group at the start, but now she's like family. She could see the dynamic in the group better than me and Rob could, because we were so close to the group. We've known them for years. We can't see a dynamic unless you're outside of it. So she could see that. So she was suggesting things that we would never even think of. So it was really good to bring her on as a third kind of like creative partner with me and Rob. But yeah, I mean, we just had a lot of fun kind of coming up with the set pieces as well. And I think we did all of the set pieces first in terms of what would be. This is how the creative spark flies with me and Rob. We go, Rob, do you want to? Let's go for a drink. We go for a drink, and we just picture each other like cool kills. He's like, okay, what if this happened? What if this girl? And like I had a whole thing. I was like, what if someone flew up in the air and they were hovering over a pool of water, their net breaks and they smash into the pool? And he's like, yeah, cool. So then we would pitch that to our producer, and he's like, how? and then we would pitch it to our we'd pitch it to, and we didn't. Our budget was quite low, and then we'd pitch it to our stunt guys, and then we're like, how is this possible? But once me and Rob have an idea in our head, it's very hard to shift it. If we think it's the coolest thing possible for the movie, then we want it. So like I've got this rule of every horror film, every film in general, should have the 2 fucks, and that is a moment where you go, oh fuck, like, and one where you go, fuck yeah. So oh fuck and fuck yeah. That's my system, and I think. And as long as you have 2 of those, then the film's gonna work. And I think we've got about 6 or 7 moments each of those things in this, which really works.
At least.
Yeah, but we, even though every single death is like really cool and elaborate, everything's seen within the first. And this is the cool thing that people look back on in the first 10, 15 minutes of the movie pre-seance. Every single death is foreshadowed. Every single thing that happens to them after the seance is in those first 10, 15 minutes. Absolutely everything. Everything they say is alluding to something that's going to happen to them a little bit later. And yeah, it's fun to kind of put that puzzle together.
No, I completely agree with the everything's foreshadowed, and I liked the payoff from that, because as a writer myself, that's what I'm looking for, you know. I want that setup, and I want this is probably the direction it's going, and yeah, you delivered big time on that.
Thank you, man. Is it?
Yeah, let me jump into I got a question for Don here. Don, out of the girls, which ones did you identify with the most? If we were in this situation,
oh God, you already know.
Who are you? I know, but the audience doesn't.
I want to hear this.
Yeah, me too.
And then Haley, we have to say ours as well.
I'll give him a second to think while I give mine, because I've had way more time to think about it. All right, go for it. Go for it.
It would have to be Gemma, as far as the I knew that's who you thought it was going to be, because
you're the shitster, I see.
Yeah,
not necessarily.
Yes, absolutely.
Gemma's a lot of people's favorite. Yeah, she's a lot of people's favorite.
Mine is actually split, because I feel like on the one hand I would be Haley putting all of this together. Yeah. And forcing all of my friends to do this. And then Don knows me well enough to know I would also absolutely be Caroline. Because I'm complete these 2 sides at all time, and I would be absolutely fucking terrified that this is going to work. And then I'd also be like, come on, you bitches, get over here and let's do this. You know?
Would you have the filters on your camera while you're doing it, though?
I would probably have my my Jason Voorhees Crystal Lake one up. Yeah, nice. Not the one where they walk in. But speaking really fast, I just want to say, while we are recording this, for I don't know if we're going to post the video or not, but we're watching video right now, and Don has these papers that are tacked to his wall in the background.
I've noticed stuff is moving around your background all the time.
Oh, it's a fan.
I can't see mine, so they don't bother me. But every fucking time that Don's move, I look. And then he's got like, what is that, a jacket, or what's hanging on the door there? I can't tell from here.
It was when I did my congratulations class of 2020 video.
Nice.
Because
the shape of this thing is fucking with me, that's all.
It's just a robe.
That's what they all say until it moves.
I just had to throw that out there. All right.
I noticed you guys are both this
I'm protected,
Arizona
okay.
Arizona fan club in the house?
Arizona fan club. Ooh.
I'm
in Arizona.
He's in Arizona right now. I'm in Mississippi right now, which is like I said, not too much can scare me right now.
I saw the sun. I was going to say I'm in Arizona.
Oh, wait, U of A?
No, I didn't go to school there. I'm just from Tucson.
Oh, okay. We gotta end this call, James. We gotta
all right, Don, we'll see you later. I'm gonna stay here with these guys.
Don't worry, I'm an AFC fan if I was anything. Sun Devils all the way.
But you wore a Winona State or
Winona State, which Winona State amazingly gave us permission to use that. Our hats off to our costumer and our costumer Lexi and our producer Dougie for getting permission for that within like a week. You know, trying to email legal, get all that stuff. So that was great.
I bet they're loving it now, though.
I know. Get that press.
All right, Jed. So who would you be if you were doing this with?
So I would
I don't
like
know, other friends.
Yeah, I would like to say, and I've said this on Twitter. People on the weekdays would be Haley, like organized and getting stuff done and bringing people together. And on the weekends, I'm Gemma, just a fool sometimes, but also Gemma's the actual only heroic one out of the group because she's the only one that kind of left her house to save her friend. And people sometimes think, oh, Gemma's the one that caused it all. She's also the one that's potentially trying to save everyone as well. So, but saying that, the two kind of quite heroic characters, I'm probably Emma, just crying under my blankets, just covered in snot. And just screaming, just Teddy. That's probably me, really.
And Haley, if you were anybody else,
I think if I was anyone else, I think I'd probably be Caroline or Redina. There's a good chance I might be actually, you know what? I think I would be Redina now that I think about it, because I would probably be very skeptical and not believing anything and be like, yeah, okay, sure, yeah, got it, wink, wink, hilarious, ooh, big spooky, and then all of a sudden I would be being dragged down the hallway and, murdered for not believing.
So actually that works really well for what I wanted to go into next. So obviously we normally talk social commentary, so we got to get into that a little bit here. Redina's relationship is very interesting to me because I do know people that were like, oh, it's quarantine. We'll spend a couple weeks together. It'll be awesome. And yeah, suckers. Yeah. I don't know if you want to talk me through some of the thought process on that or just where that came from, but also just if anybody has any thoughts on that whole situation of who you're kind of stuck with. Like, no matter how much I love my wife, we have our days, man, where we're like, quarantine can't end soon enough. And then we have other days where we're like, I'm so glad you're the one that's always here, So, yeah, go for it.
Well, yeah, I mean, we needed various different points of conflict within the group. And to be honest, Redina's character was the hardest out of all of them to kind of get a hold of. We kind of figured out the kind of arcs of all the other girls and how they were going to die. But all we really knew from Redina was that she lived with her boyfriend, and her boyfriend's an actor as well. So we were like, right, we needed them to act together. And the first thing you think of, okay, they argue, they're not getting on. They moved together because of the situation. And maybe it was too soon. And this has happened to friends of mine and in the general wide world all the time. People have moved in together a bit too soon because of the circumstances. So we don't want it to be a quarantine movie. I know a lot of people been saying, yeah, it's the quarantine movie. We don't mention COVID by name at all. Right. But we wanted to show that this is a product of its time, but we also wanted to make it timeless as well, so we don't like hang our coats on the fact it's a quarantine movie. And Alan is just he's an amazing cook as well, so that's why he's just like chopping. And we thought, wouldn't it be cool if that really annoyed Redina and there was a conflict there and she would like banish him to the bedroom, which she does in real life as well. I've since
poor Alan. He had spent so much time in that bedroom in the dark.
But it's funny because like Alan's like a good actor. He's in some like big TV shows as well. And a couple of weeks ago, like we met him in a park, and he brought me and Rob loads of the most amazing food, just for no reason. So he's such a nice guy. So it was nothing like what you see on screen with Redina at all. But yeah, we just wanted to reflect the current times, and you're right in saying sometimes you can't help who you're stuck with, and it can be a real test of a relationship.
I think like that too gives when you're watching the film as a viewer, you're in that situation too. You might be quarantined with someone you don't know that well, or you thought you would only be quarantined for a few months with, and so you can really relate to the characters going through the same things you're going through, which helps the film's popularity and the fact that it makes it feel that much more real, because we're not hamming this up like, oh, it was a perfect relationship and we're having the best time in lockdown. It's like, these are all real life situations, and unfortunately something goes horribly wrong. Having to show that side of a relationship and just what can happen and what is happening for a lot of people good or bad. If being with your significant other every day, all day is great, then hooray for you. But if it's not, well, then you're not alone. Here's it being showcased on film, and film can be such a good medium to, I guess, for people to, you relate to it, you see yourself in it. Those are the best movies, in my opinion, is ones that you see yourself in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things with Alan's death for me was you don't hate him. Like, he's not like we just watched The Beach House, okay? And one of the characters in that is a complete douchebag, and then he dies, and you're like, yes, thank you. And in this, like, she doesn't want him dead. She just wanted him to stop chopping stuff. Like, it's such a traumatic thing when the body falls, Yeah. So, yeah.
I think that helps too, that you see the real life situation, but you never wanted any of these characters, hopefully, to be brutally murdered as they are. I mean, maybe you did mine. Who knows?
No.
Maybe you did a few of them, but it makes you care a lot more when the deaths happen, is because you maybe liked everybody, even if they're only on screen for a little bit.
No,
yeah, and with Alan's death, we had that death. We were going to give it to someone because we had that death in our heads. We really want someone to fall from a height, and you don't see the cuts. You just see it. She looks towards the screen and he falls behind her, and that we really did that. We had a stunt guy basically hanging up there. Yeah, Nathaniel hanging up there, waiting for his cue, and he was essentially doing a stomach crunch the entire time waiting. So he was not happy, and then and then he had to fall and without stopping himself. And if you can imagine falling without breaking your fall, it's so hard what he had to do. But Nathaniel's so good at stuff like that. But the interesting with Alan's death is, do you know when when Regina was looking around the house for Alan and Alan's phone's found? Within that scene, there's a really, really cool bit behind Regina where you see what happened to Alan before he ends up on the roof, and you just have to. And to be honest, I didn't see it until the third time, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And I've since learned that was probably the hardest and most expensive shot of the entire movie. Was that shot, and no one's even really seen it. But
I'm gonna go look for it right after this. So.
Yeah, but it's spooky, it's creepy, and it's very, very impressive. And without that, I think it would have been less of a. It's still a cool death, but now you know that's there. It just makes it all the cooler because
that's awesome, huh?
Well, I've got a question for everybody here because with respect to the seance, everybody has their device or their triggers. Now, for all of you, if you were to do this, who would you summon? I mean, family member, friend, historic figure, and what would you use to summon them?
Good. So, what I choose? Interesting. Before I answer that, can I just say that? So Salem, who was the medium in there, all the girls thought Salem was a real medium, except Haley. Except that we told Haley because Haley had to know. So after every scene with her, Salem had to close down the seance properly so the girls would believe that she's a real medium. And they only found out at the rap party, the Zoom rap party, that she came on and was like, "Girls, I'm an actress." And they went, "No!"
That's awesome.
I just see pranks inside of pranks inside of a film that started as a prank 2-minute film.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You're never safe with Rob and Jed. You just never know what's going to happen.
Also, we thought that she would be recognized because she
could Google her.
she's a big actress. She's Doctor Who's mum in Doctor Who. So in the recent series, but obviously no one's really seen the most recent series of Doctor Who, so that's probably why. And she's amazing. So with me, Rob, Salem, and the producer Dougie and Gemma Hurley, the other writer, we did a seance just with Salem to show her what a different seance, just to show her exactly what a real kind of medium would do. So, and then that real medium and Salem would kind of go back and forth. Okay, what about this? So that's why Salem's performance, everything she says, is spawned off this real medium who just taught her how to be a medium. And to be honest, she could be a real medium if she wanted to and make a bit of side money being a Zoom of a superstar.
I think a lot of horror fans would just pay to just do that with her. So, I mean, she should totally cash in and do it.
Or tell her, let's set that up now.
Yeah. But in terms of who would I speak to, I would probably... So my item would probably be the album Grace by Jeff Buckley. Do you know the musician Jeff Buckley? He only produced one album while he was alive called Grace. And it's like the 10 most beautiful songs you've ever heard. One of the songs on there is Hallelujah, which is a Leonard Cohen cover. And his version of that is Ethereal. Yeah, but he died when he was 27, part of the 27 Club. He walked into a river, I think it was in Memphis, and just disappeared into the river, obviously drowned. So he just left behind one of the best albums of all time. So I would like to call him and speak to him and ask him, is that what happened? Or did you run away? Did you somehow hide and did a kind of an Elvis? And are you now living in Cuba? Kind of just...
Then you couldn't summon him.
Yeah, well, that's true.
So if it doesn't work, you'll know.
If he doesn't appear, I know he's still alive.
There you go. I think I would do. I think it was recently Robin Williams' birthday, if I'm thinking that correctly. I've now just thinking about it, he's been all over my Instagram feed. So I think I would maybe grab a copy of Mrs. Doubtfire and see if I could get him to appear, because just to have a few laughs. Him or maybe Don Rickles. I like the comedy guys, so maybe if I can somehow get Don Rickles out. Actually, maybe I should change. I would prefer Don Rickles because I would love Don Rickles' commentary on Host and see what he would have to say about it.
In his voice?
Yeah, exactly.
Great. That would be great.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
How about you guys?
My answer would... it would either be my dad or my grandma. So it would depend on the day and who I wanted to talk to more. So if it was my dad, I would get a pack of Marlboro Reds and a Diet Pepsi, and he would probably show right up.
Nice.
And if it was grandma, I mean, I would just stand there going, boy, I'm hungry. And then she would just appear. So I mean, she's probably here now. So.
What would grandma bring you?
Oh, man. This woman, I swear, if you yawned in her house, she shoved a cookie in your mouth. So she would bring, but like her meals didn't make any sense. It was just like, it was all of your favorite stuff. So like when I was a kid, it would be like, oh, I have pizza and macaroni and cheese and hot dogs and chocolate chip cookies. And it's like, none of that goes together. What are you doing? You know? And
that sounds ideal.
Yeah, so,
I know.
But yeah, no, it was fucking amazing. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying it's a weird combo. But yeah, outside of that, like if I went somebody famous, famous, let's see, I would probably go Richard Matheson, because his writing influenced the living shit out of me. Mm-hmm. Although that probably would feel like an insult to him if he read my stuff. He'd be like, you need to try harder. No, I'm kidding.
Richard, why don't you teach me?
Right?
That's why you're here.
I would get a copy of, I'm going to fuck this up. I think the short story is called Of Man and Woman. It's one of his short stories. Anyway, I don't know if that's the title of it. I will edit this later to sound more brilliant than I am. All right, Don, what about you?
Like
I asked that question to stall so I could think about who it would be for me, to be honest. If it were a real person, it would probably be my maternal grandfather, because I found a lot of stuff about him as he was approaching those years to where, he wasn't going to be all there before he passed. And I found out some really cool stories, like him standing up to the Klan at one point and living to tell about
Legend.
it. Yeah. Yeah. He was on his deathbed. Somebody's telling me the story. And I mean, he died about 8 months later. But somebody's telling me the story, and I'm like, what happened? Did he live? And I'm like, you dumbass, he's in the next room. Like, he's still alive. I mean, it was that compelling of a story. But for him, it would probably be the same thing. It would be Marlboro Reds, because I know that that or Newports, but he smoked a lot. But that wasn't the thing that killed him. And then as far as celebrity, it would be James Baldwin, because that was a writer I didn't discover until college, and I thank my my English professor in college for bringing him up. I hadn't heard about him in high school and middle school, anything, and this is like 20 something years ago.
Shocking in American education.
You have no idea. You have no idea.
Too soon?
It's never too soon for those jokes.
I would, because he helped shape me as far as being comfortable within my own skin is like being able to ask questions, being able to be okay with, you know what, I don't fit in this situation. I don't have to fit in this situation. You know, being unapologetic about a lot of subjects that he talked about, wanted answers about. But the thing I would use to summon him would be a bottle of Johnny Walker Black.
Ooh, classy.
Only because I know that was his favorite drink. And then we could drink and sit there and talk. And I mean, hopefully if he's, you know, beyond the astral plane, we can drink together. But no, that's who I would pick, because, and also he would have some great thoughts about the world today that he would not hesitate to share.
See, that's a good answer. Not like my shitty answer.
No, I had more time to think about it.
No, man, like that's the thing though. These things are so individualized, and if you notice, we all kind of went for something that either heavily influenced us or would heavily influence what we're feeling right now. And I think that in and of itself speaks volumes. So that was actually really cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
So I want to talk for us. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I just was saying we're so smart.
Oh, yes, we are very smart. SMRT.
Yay.
But, gotta have the Simpsons reference, right? But so I want to talk for a second about something Ceylin says, because it matters so much to the film. And also, I think it's so important overall. She talks about respecting the spirits and how, because Gemma doesn't respect the spirits, supposedly that's what opens this door and creates a mask for anybody to come in, right?
Yeah.
Respecting the spirits is so big to me, because I find that people who really study this, really read a lot about it, really partake in these things, respect the living shit out of what's happening on the other side. And teenagers with Ouija boards, on the other hand, or people who randomly say, oh, I'd sell myself or whatever, you know, like, it's a joke, but like, there's so much here. It's such a very heavy subject. And I thought it was so cool to hear somebody actually say it in a film, because a lot of times it's implied, but it's not specifically said. And I do think it should be a rule overall if you're going to mess with anything that's questionable, shall we say.
Yeah, so I want to take a little bit of credit for that, because we had to even though I came up with the words Zoom seance, we had to figure out why this thing was after them. Like, and it was actually the thing that probably took the longest. Like, why is this happening? We had all the cool kills, we had cool character arcs, but why now? Why is this thing happening now? So I'm quite interested in tulpas. Do you know what a tulpa is? So in various different mythologies, a tulpa is something that's manifested through groupthink. So if multiple people think the same thing, it brings it into existence. You manifest it. And I personally think Freddy Krueger is probably the biggest bad guy in horror. And I think he's a tulpa. He exists only because people think he exists. And in the first Nightmare on Elm Street, at the end, she turns her back on him and he disappears. And that's just exactly what a tulpa is. So my whole thing was, okay, so because they've called out to the void and they haven't said a real name, it's not a real situation, Gemma lied, they've manifested a tulpa. Something's come through and is wearing the mask of this Jack character that Gemma that just created out of thin air. So that's kind of where that came from. It opened a door so that these evil spirits can come in, and then to double down, we were like, yeah, and also Salem was very strict about about closing the seance, and they didn't close the seance. So we doubled down. A couple of bad things happened.
I think it too. It's just I've done readings and things like this because I do also think I love kind of this kind of stuff. I too have lost my dad, so that kind of sparked a lot of my interest a bit more. And the friend who has done readings for me, I've always just thought like, whether or not you believe in the seance can be real or can't be real, it's still something that someone else does believe in, and you should just be respectful of their belief system and not try and change it or not try and mess with it in a way or prove them wrong or whatnot, because why do you need to do that? First off, what that says more about you than them. But then if not taking it seriously among someone who is just rude. It's just plain rude that I guess it's something that people think, oh yeah, it's so fun to have a Ouija board and do little joke things. But when you do have a large group of probably the world that really, really believes in things like this, why would you mess with it?
Yeah, no, I love that. That's exactly how I feel. And I was that kid, I was like the 12-year-old who was like, yeah, we're going to play with the Ouija board and we're going to do this. And then we had weird shit happen. Yeah. And as soon, and I mean like legit weird shit, right? Not like, oh, Andy's moving it around. Just like we had some shit move and different things like that. But the weirdest part was a different time in high school. We were using one and we were way more respectful with that one and trying to do it correctly. And my friend got really, really sick after using it. And this is actually, it's part of one of my upcoming novels that's sort of based on all this. But we took that one and we went to burn it because we needed to get rid of this fucking thing, right? And it would not burn no matter what we did to it. And I mean, we were dumping like lighter fluid on it. And, yeah, it was crazy, and it was just weird. And we ended up getting it, but it took forever to do. And even now, my friend Andy's like, we don't talk about that, But yeah.
So it was the Ouija board you were trying to burn?
Yeah, we were trying to get rid of the Ouija board. And if I remember correctly, because this was I was maybe 17, 18, somewhere in there, And if I remember correctly, we broke it in half or in quarters and tried to burn it because we thought maybe there was a coating on it and that wasn't burning. And maybe if we broke it, still nothing. And yeah, that was crazy. Yeah. And
you do hear stories about that, stuff like that happening all the time. That I'm like, I'd rather just play on the safe side than.
Yeah, that's the first rule as well of Ouija boards. The first rule of Ouija boards is don't do it in your own house. Never do a Ouija board in your own house. If you're going to do it at your friend's house who you're not that friendly with.
I mean, at least I did that. But no, but I mean, that kind of started it. It was just these little things that I couldn't explain that really made me start thinking about what are we fucking with here, and whether it's real, whether it's not. There comes a point where you just have to respect it and be okay with it. On that note, I'm going to tell you another quick story and then we can get back to all this. When I moved into my current house, I've lived here for 7 years now. And as you come through the front door, there's a closet right here. And inside there's a fucking 3-piece suit. Like a full man's suit. And on the back, in painter's tape, slapped across it, somebody with a Sharpie wrote, "This came with the house, it stays here."
Oh!
Amazing.
In 7 years, I have never touched this fucking thing.
Yeah.
I will not touch this thing. And my first short film is based on the suit and what happens if you touch it. Because my son was visiting and he asked me about it, and that became the basis of the short film, right? But I have friends come over and they're like, "Oh, I'm going to try on this suit." And I'm like, "No, motherfucker. I don't care if you believe or not. You're not touching shit in my house." So, yeah.
Yeah, the rule's right there on the suit. Don't break that rule. Why would you?
And my wife, I kid her every now and then that we're going to take it with us when we move to the new place. And she's like, no. And I'm like, that's right. No.
What would you do if you moved to the new place and it was in the cupboard there as well?
That would be fantastic. I would just, honestly, I'm at the point where I would probably be like, well, that's cool, even though it's really creepy, but I don't know. But no, my point with this is it's become so that it doesn't matter to me if I believe or not. Like Haley was saying, it could be real, and that's enough reason to be respectful of it right there.
I think unless, if people are using it for good, then just let them be.
There you go.
It's true.
John, what kind of notes do you have? Because I know
I'm good with mine. I had the couple of big questions that I definitely wanted to ask. But I guess the other thing I can ask is, how do all of you feel, or well, all of you for that matter, but how do the two of you specifically feel about the way the film has been received?
Well, obviously, like me and Rob are very confident when it comes to horror. Like, we know what horror fans want, and we're very intricate at that. I'm surrounded right now with about 1,200 horror VHSs, and they're like mostly pre-cert, 70s and 80s, and I study them. And some of these films have never come to DVD or never even been seen in America because they're British and like they're bootlegs and they're weird. But I get a lot of my ideas from watching these things that no one's ever seen and thinking, that's a really cool idea. And these people never got a chance to kind of make a film that everyone's seen. So what if I took a kernel of their idea and like made it into something that could work in the 21st century, but obviously pay homage to that film that no one's ever seen. So we know what horror is, and we know what horror people kind of like. So we're all right with that, but we didn't expect the kind of mainstream kind of love as well. Like, obviously all the horror sites, Bloody Disgusting, Dread Central, all of them were like really into it. Just before this, I did the Bloody Disgusting podcast, and they were just gushing like we've never seen a movie have this reaction. They said like in like 20 years or something, and they're bloody disgusting. And Dread Central I don't know if you've seen those quotes, but they said we're the most important horror movie of the last 10 years, as important as Blair Witch, the scariest movie of the decade. And it's like, this is Dread Central. I read Dread Central every day. It's mad. But then you've got Haley was just on like a Fox,
we just did an interview with all the girls for Fox Chicago, which will be out to all the Fox affiliate stations. And the wonderful interviewer Jake was just gushing to us about the film, and I mean, for I think all of us, we were all chatting about this, like, we knew we did Dawn of the Deaf, which had a really good run at Sundance and had a good solid amount of press with that, and so that was like, we saw that a bit. We had no idea that it was gonna blow up like this. And Rob and Jed would always be like, it's gonna be big, and we're like, okay, but I have no reference of what big is. And like, I haven't stopped, like my phone has just been beeping and beeping and beeping for the last 5 days. 5 days. Like, New York Times has reviewed it. The Guardian has reviewed it. We've got The Economist has reviewed it. Like NPR reviewed it, and my mind blew up.
We are currently 100% certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. Yep. Which is really rare, and we're a horror movie that was made in lockdown on Zoom.
Yeah,
and 100% on set
with unknown actors in a sense.
I think I've only known of 2 movies, and it's your movie and Get Out that were horror movies that got the 100% fresh.
It's crazy, and Get Out is one of the best horror movies of the last.
Bow down.
So good.
Yeah, I was going to say, Get Out is God. So
if we're just even a close second to Get Out, I'm there. Yeah,
we'll be the son of God. We're fine with that.
There you
go. No, I want to throw out, I think that your friendships are what makes this film so good.
Definitely.
Like, you can't fake chemistry like this. And you can't, you can write chemistry like this, but getting the writing and the actors and everything to just coexist like this is impossible. This had to be organic, and it shines through so brightly. And I don't know if you guys can see it because you're a part of it. You know what I mean? But like, we can feel it Like, we're watching this, and yeah, we know you're filming it the way you did, and we know that you had to have known each other or you wouldn't be in this, but like, it is obvious you guys didn't meet this week. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that that's what's resonating with people. It's that Zoom is very real to us, sure, and being stuck somewhere is very real to us, yes. But what shines through is the realness between you guys and that bridge. And I really, truly believe that that's the thing that's making this as big as it is. As great as the film would be otherwise, I think that's the ingredient that you absolutely needed.
Thank you. That's very kind.
And like, thing is, like, being like myself and Rob, like, we've known these ladies for a long time now, and we always say to each other, like, these girls should be massive. These girls, they should be bigger than they are. Like, they shouldn't have to like do smaller roles. They should be lead roles in big movies. So like, it was like it was just like, yeah, of course we're going to use them. We did think, oh, maybe Shudder's going to make us use like more well-known actors but then we wouldn't have probably done it because we wanted to use our friends in this situation. Mm-hmm. And it's one of the real pleasing things with this over any praise that I've got or Rob's got, is that our friends, like, we made this together, and these girls who are our friends, again, so much praise. Like, it's incredible how much praise you go, saying how naturalistic your acting is, which is like an A+ essentially. Yeah. How great you are together, and like how all of you are going to go into like massive things, and like finally the entire world can see what we saw.
Well, and I mean, even like Caroline in particular, for me, like, it's so. I refuse to believe she was this scared making the film with you guys, So it's the most obvious acting, right?
She was.
But it's not obvious. Like, it feels so legit, and because of the realness of everything else happening and everyone else's, like the aloof attitudes or the playful ones or whatever else, it makes hers stronger. Because that is so grounded. Mm-hmm. And so it doesn't come off feeling like everyone's acting. And I feel like if Shudder had been like, oh, you need this person, this person, this person, this person, the film would fail. I think we would like it, but we'd be like, okay, what else is on, Right. To quote the Truman Show, because I have to do that. No.
Did you see when we announced hosts, which was only 3 weeks ago, by the way, in like Deadline, and it went out across all the other horror sites, the comments underneath were just like, I'm never watching a Zoom movie. This is going to be crap. Like, who would want to watch a Zoom movie? I'm sick of Zoom. I'm not going to watch this. This is just Unfriended 3, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wow. And I didn't tell the girls any of this. I was reading this every single day, all this negativity. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm just going to like hold on to this myself into a little concise ball and then throw it out the window. And because I knew, like, people just need to put their eyes on it. The first person just needs to see it, and then it will, like a virus, will just like spread. And that's what happened. And all those people who kind of thought it was going to be crap are the same people giving it 5 stars on Letterboxd right now. And and it's the number 1 trending film on Letterboxd as well. And I'm on Letterboxd every day, like logging what films I watch and stuff. It's right there, number 1. I also noticed we're number 1 on pirating websites as well, which is not great, but still.
Well, I mean, it's sort of good because it means people want to see it, but not good for everything else involved with that. No, I mean, it comes down to the same thing as the seance, right? Like, even if you don't believe, be respectful.
True, very, very true.
Yeah.
But like, Heidi, how have you found like your friends and like family who have watched it? And
I mean, it is kind of cool. Like, people are coming out the woodwork to congratulate me on it. Yeah. I will take it. But every single person I've shown it to has been either like live texting me being like, no, fuck, don't go in there. Like, and then just finishing with being like, I am so impressed. Like, because everybody, you kind of, it's hard to when you're like, we made a movie over Zoom and everyone's like, oh, great. Can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, and exactly. That reaction.
Yeah, everyone's like, okay, we're gonna support you, and then every single person that's watched it that I know is like, I can't believe you did that. You should be so proud. Like, it's amazing. It scared the shit out of me, which is also the best reaction you get is people being like, holy fuck, that's the scariest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's been really special. The last like few days have just They're
you're right
really,
about-
yeah. It's really nice.
But yeah, people I haven't spoken to in years are just suddenly DMing me and just like, "Hey, just watched your film and like amazing, like we should hang out." And it's like, I haven't heard from you since 2007. What's going on here?
But thanks for watching.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Hey, are you getting any like anyone sliding into your DMs, like any kind of like?
Oh, that has been the exciting / weird thing is we have gotten a few. Caroline has gotten a few of the weird. A lot of people interested in her feet.
I knew it. I was going to call it. I'm like, was it the feet people?
Which for us, there's like bits of it that were like, your feet are in it? When? And she's like, I don't know. I don't even like. We think it's all just basically torso to head, and they're not. She has gotten some.
I think it's that video background when she's walking, which was a great thing, by the way, because again, it got me because I was like, oh well, she's possessed. It's Host, so she's possessed, and Ceylon had said earlier in the film that they'll attach yourself and possess you. So I'm thinking like, oh shit, she's gonna. And then of course all the girls that are on Zoom are like, no, that's her background. I'm like, and then you see that face like come out of the.
God, I love that.
Shit, this was awesome.
When every time we had to react to that, because we did multiple takes, every time it just hurts me in the gut because I just love her so much. And she's like, she is the nicest, kindest woman ever. Yeah. That like you seeing her and you can't do anything through the screen. Like it still gives me, still watching the film now, I'm still like, no, Caroline, I need to help you.
So she did her prosthetics on her face herself. We had a guy called Dan Martin, who's one of the biggest prosthetics guys and kind of makes things, models and things.
Artist.
Yeah, in Europe really. He does loads of big films. He did The Color Out of Space. That weird llama creature is his. So he had to Zoom Caroline and send her prosthetics and fake blood, and talk her through how to apply it on her face and stuff. And I think that's the first. A lot of this, what we've done is a first ever of making a film via Zoom and all the little elements that go into it. But yeah, Caroline's death, specifically for the sound design of the crunch of her face against keyboard, is crazy. And like I always knew I wanted those scrambled up words to kind of precede that as well, so people kind of like lean in, like, what does that say? What does that say? Yeah.
That's where my bad eyesight comes in, because I'm like, man, I can't read that anyway. I'll stay back here.
Like, is it demon typing, or is that her face on the keyboard? Like,
it's her face. It's her face. It's her face. But yeah, that was one of the scares that we had right even before. Like we had like a kind of a script. We knew we wanted to do a Zoom a fake background thing, because some of our friends in Zoom chats do it. I do it sometimes. And so so it just felt like we were just putting all the coolest things we can think of into the movie, using everything we've experienced through Zoom, through using it for like probably 6 weeks at that point. And so it's resonating with people because it's what they're doing as well, and it's crazy. And but stick back to your question, I think we would be liars if we thought we would have expected this kind of reaction. Just before this, Paul Tremblay, the author, he tweeted, Paul. Yeah, he tweeted that it scared him shitless, and I'm just like, oh wow, it scared you, the guy who wrote Head Full of Ghosts. That scared me, that I couldn't sleep, and I'm desensitized to horror, but that book got in my head, and it's probably still there. And he said that Host scared him. It's like, yes, revenge.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he said he wants to Zoom me as well to like ask me some questions, so that's going to be cool.
That's awesome. Tell him about our show and why he should come on.
I will. And Joe Hill, like he's been talking about it, and just tons of people. Elijah Wood.
That one was really fun.
And so really fast, while we're still talking about Zoom stuff and how you'd only been using it for like 6 weeks at that point and that sort of thing, I love the credits. The credits are such a cool. Like, how did that come about? Like, how did you decide? Oh, we got to do that for the credits.
Yeah. So that was nothing to do with me. That was like Dougie and Rob's kind of like creation. But because we wanted to keep the air of authenticity, that was the only, we didn't want credits. It would take you out of it. You've just seen something so real. Why you would see the artifice of people's names appear on screen? That's not how it works. So you see someone at a laptop scrolling through the names, but also right at the start when Haley first logs in, you see loads of different folders with names on it.
And I saw your name.
My name's there. I
noticed that right away.
Yeah. Yep. Also, the other thing you see there, you see like Haley is the host as well. Like you see that, which is interesting.
Oh, questionable.
But yeah, sorry. What was the question again?
The credits.
I just wanted to know about the credits.
Yeah.
I just thought that was a really cool addition.
Yeah, no score, no real credits, and obviously we didn't have a score because we wanted to keep that air of authenticity. We wanted it to be real. We want people to come off knowing, okay, it's on Shudder. It can't be real, but we want them to still think it's a little bit real, and for it to be kind of just a thing that they tell their friends. And I think how we've ended it. It one leaves you wanting more, but also leaves you in a state of like, okay, so what happened to them? And I want them to be safe because I've been on this journey with these girls. I want to know they're okay. And luckily, you can go on Twitter and see these girls interacting with each other, and you know they're safe. But we didn't consciously like think, okay, what we're going to do is grassroots PR. We're going to make sure everybody knows about Host, because I think the attention of Host, 95% of the attention has come from us promoting it on ourselves because there's no marketing budget on Twitter. That we didn't have a trailer or a poster until after the film came out as well, because it just landed in people's homes just like with no fanfare really, and it's just exploded.
It's awesome.
It's insane.
Yeah, Twitter's been. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think the two great things that are going to come from this is the work of all the people involved is going to get a more magnification. And then also there's going to be more magnification for Shudder, because if this has gone to Netflix, it could have easily been lost. You know, because somebody would have seen like, oh, it's another Netflix horror movie. Okay, let's see their attempt at this. Whereas Shudder, it's specifically suited for horror, and you're going to have some of the more harsher horror critics there, which is why you initially had that thing of, oh, great, it's Unfriended 2, Unfriended 3, or Friend Request or whatever, and them not knowing what went into making this film is what's going to give them a lot more respect, or even backpedal as far as the statements they may have made about the film, because now you're saying that it's not just a Zoom movie. It's a movie that was made possible because of Zoom and the complications that it creates and everything that goes into that. I mean, I don't know how somebody does it with a regular situation as far as being able to film. Just imagine the complications that come from everybody's in their different locations, and you've got to, advise people. You've got to have one person come over and help with this. You've got to control everything that's involved as far as your scenes. And like you said, it wouldn't even be a COVID or quarantine film, except for like a couple of little minuscule references. Like even when Gemma runs to go save Haley, and she's so focused on going to save her friend, but then realizing I need to be a responsible person when I go outside, throws on her mask. And I was like, holy shit, that was great. It's not one of these things of like, well, I'm going to run out in the street. It just became so natural. I didn't even think about. Let me say,
I think she looks like more of a badass with the mask.
Yeah.
Like there's something about that shot that I'm just like, it's like hero shot,
you know?
Yeah.
And the mask totally adds to it. I don't know. All right, continue.
Also, if you think about it, Salem was talking about a mask, right? And then we.
Oh shit! There's more layers.
There's things going on here.
That keeps on giving, guys.
But yeah, also the bit that everyone seems to be kind of going crazy about is the elbow bump when Gemma and Haley meet.
Yeah.
And I've seen some people go, oh, that wouldn't happen in this situation. But of course it would. These girls are basically playing themselves, and that's what they wanted to do in that situation, because they weren't allowed to kind of hug each other.
Yeah. we even discussed like, oh, I think the original idea was Gemma runs in, we see each other and we hug, and we were both like, no, that's not how we even as actors do not feel comfortable hugging in this current situation.
Not in the scripts, yeah.
we said, yeah, no way, we're not hugging each other because we're barely out of full down lockdown, and we've got parents that we want to see and older people, and I don't want to get sick either. And we also just kind of respecting the climate in general of everybody that's going to watch it, to be like, well, if we're going to do that, why are we even bothering to make it over Zoom? Let's just go make it fully. So we wanted to try and keep it within like the confines of what, why we were filming it over Zoom and the situation and the world we were living at the time, because that is the reality of the character's world.
I get really emotional at that because I just think it's so sweet, and you can see Hayley's like, what should I do here? What should I do? And then it's I love that bit. And
you want that like human connection, but you can't. More than ever in that situation, you want to have some sort of human physical connection, and you can't do it, which is all the more sad that then
So I remember when you did that, like Rob texted me, or we Zoomed afterwards, and they said, oh yeah, Hayley and Gemma changed the script, and I was like, what? And they said, oh yeah, they didn't want to hug, and I was like, oh, of course, because like when you to write something, you don't take into account like things like that. You just put and then they hug, but then it's so much better now. And that's one thing I need to point out, that like a lot of this film is from the girls themselves. It's all the cool lines you hear, like all the catchphrases like happy spookers and things like that, that's from them. That's not from us. They're having natural conversations and things come out, and so again, they might as well just be down as like DOPs, like makeup women, directing themselves, stunt people, writers. They were the whole bag of tricks. And
I did say I should just be credited as like utility player for just every little part. Every time I had to do something different, like, oh, okay, now I'm the prop master. Okay. Now I'm actually the stunt coordinator now. That was all. Or what other job can I? What other kind of? Okay, now I'm a gaffer now.
Catering. You did catering.
Catering. My boyfriend was assistant to Miss Bishop. Also the cinematographer at times. He was also hiding in the closet, pushing things out for me. So yeah.
I was totally like looking in the closet, trying to see if I could catch even a small glimpse of anything,
People
have found things in that closet. People have screenshots.
Oh yeah, that's true. There's apparently I have some picture in the closet that I don't even know about. I'm not entirely convinced that is in my real closet. Just so
someone screenshot a picture of an old man that's in your closet.
I need to go look because I have no idea what they're talking about.
Everybody just start photoshopping things in her closet, send them to her.
Grandpa? How did they know?
It's weird the Necronomicon logo's in here.
If you guys do that, I will retweet it. Don't you worry.
I also, but by the way, I love the name of your podcast as well.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's really cool. Very clever.
I didn't tell Don this, so I have to, because your response to me is my favorite response I've ever gotten from anyone when I ask them to come on the show. So I write Jed, like, I followed him and he followed me back, and I immediately start writing him. So I'm like, well, now I feel like one of those people that sends those annoying auto DMs, So I started it with, this is not an auto DM. I'm literally writing you right now, and he writes back and he's like, count me in based on your logo. It's fucking awesome. And I was like, yes.
Yeah, it is. Do you guys have t-shirts for that logo? It is awesome.
We do, yeah.
It's really cool. Okay, I'll check them out.
But yeah, no, I loved that response. I was like, fantastic. I don't even care. That made me feel amazing. Yeah, I love our logo. I've been staring at it for a year and I'm still staring at it like I just got it. So
absolutely nailed it.
It's a good sign.
So is there any major social commentary that we've missed, Jed? As the writer, you would know better than anybody. Is there a deeper message anywhere?
It's only come out 5 days ago, so there's a lot that people have missed in terms of
of course,
subtext, particular things that we thought people would pick out by now, but they haven't, between the girls. you kind of get the inkling of the relationships between the girls. Like Caroline used to go out with Teddy.
Yep.
Haley, is it still in? I can't remember. Is it in there that Teddy and Emma used to work together? Do we have that?
I don't actually think that made the final cut.
Oh,
but
okay.
now I'm trying to think, because a couple of people have asked me how we know each other and had to go through and say, oh, well, it's, through college, and then it's through work and a couple other things. But it's funny because even I'm like, it's in the movie. I remember saying that when I was filming, and then you're like, oh no, it's been your 7 hours of dialogue has now been cut down to 20 minutes. Every little moment I wanted in is not there.
Yeah. So Emma and Teddy, they already knew each other from working together. Everybody hates Ginny.
Who is the loveliest person? We had to Rob saying, okay, you need to really slag her off. Like, you need to call her every terrible name under the sun. And we're like, but we really like her, and she's a badass stunt woman. That I'm like, I don't want to mess with her.
So I saw a cut. Before I saw a cut before the one that was released on Shudder, where you guys say completely different things about Ginny. So when I first watched it on Shudder, I was like, oh, okay, so this is the version that's gone out. So there is a slightly alternate version where the girls interact in different ways. So it's really interesting. I wonder if in the future if that kind of stuff will get released, because it's really interesting and adds more layers to the story. But there are a lot of things that give you clues as to what how it's all caused specifically. So there's a couple of red herrings, but we do spell it out in certain ways. Behind the girls, pretty much all the time, there's stuff going on. Mm-hmm. And people, there's a guy on my Twitter who's been frame by frame. He's been just tapping frame by frame to find things, and he's found a lot of things. And I'm like, no, this is coming out too soon. So I've stopped retweeting him because he's giving the game away. But you could probably find him. But it's just like funny things we put in just to make ourselves laugh and to make ourselves, because we didn't think it would explode like this. So now it's almost like an ARG where people are trying to find out the real story of Host, and luckily we do have a lot of layers that go on in this, and it's crazy.
So my next question kind of ties into that. So when I wrote my novel Fat Camp, which is a slasher set in a fit camp for overweight teenage boys,
that's very cool.
Basically, I rewrote it 11 times, right? So when you're talking about my 7 hours of dialogue was cut down to 20, or is this in the film? Man, I know stuff about this story that there aren't even traces of it left in there. And then I'm like, well, how do you not know that about his backstory?
It's in there.
Or whatever. And that really hit home with me just now, because as a writer, I mean, you're always rewriting and you're always changing things, and you just have this weird thing where all of these alternate realities exist in your mind at once.
Yeah. And I forget what we used.
Yeah. I mean, even now, my book's been out for 2 years, and somebody will bring something up, and I'm like, that's in there, really? I thought I cut that twice.
Yeah. The kind of biggest kind of overall clue, and we've said it before, all of the stuff that me and Rob do are in the same universe. It's essentially the same universe. So everything's happened, Dawn of the Death, Salt, Absence, this, whatever we do next. It's all in the same universe. It's all happening concurrently. So the guy that
plays Marvel.
Yeah, the guy that James Swanton, who plays the demon, plays the demon in Salt as well. There's that connection. And then that opens up another realm of possibilities. It's like, oh, okay. So how does that fit in? There's lots of stuff like that. And also, Dawn of the Death's all about sound, and there's certain sounds in this that might be familiar. It's kind of, I mean, we kind of just want to make our own universe, basically. I think that's it.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So, is there anything that you're willing to talk about that you wish had made the final cut that didn't?
Ooh.
Like a great line that somebody had, or just anything.
I think, I mean, Emma's got a lot of funny lines in this, but she had a couple more funny ones. There was one about Pepperami that was in the version that I saw.
Yeah. Oh yeah. we decided that we were going to slag Ginny off as a vegan for some reason, which is no reason to dislike someone. But we rolled with the jokes that you can make on meat related puns.
Yeah, and all of that was like really funny. And what else? But the cut we have now is the best cut, by the way. It's what else? I think some of the seance stuff. I saw a version that was longer and different, and I saw a slightly different version of Emma's kind of death sequence as well, like originally. But yeah, like Emma's whole death sequence is, to me, probably the most impressive roller coaster of set pieces. Obviously, we've got Ginny and Teddy's death, which is crazy impressive. But I think there's like 4 things that happen with Emma. She goes into the kitchen, the masks are floating, and by the way, that's a mask from Alice Sweet Alice, if you didn't know, which also came on Shudder 2 days later. So it's the Alice Sweet Alice mask floating in the air. Looks at her, the flower footprints, which is amazing. She runs out, the lights go crazy, more flower footprints. No, or was it wet footprints? I can't remember. And then she runs, and the lights going crazy. She gets lifted up into the air, smashed down to the ground. She goes into her room, hides in the blankets. Then after Teddy and Ginny die, then she throws the blanket over the open air, and then you see the shape of someone. And then she gets flung out the window. To me, that's just like a non-stop roller coaster of not giving the audience a single second to breathe, because if you breathe, the monster might get you. That's kind of what makes me think. But yeah, it's just an impressive feat. And Emma's house was made up of 5 different people's houses, because we had to do all those stunts, and we had a stunt house full of stunt people who all lived together, and that's how we achieved some of those things where Emma gets lifted up. That was
Regina
one of the stunt
too, right? Regina is Anna, I believe. Anna's another one of our stunt women is Regina's double.
And was it Anna that is the one that got thrown out the window and smashed into the table in Emma's place?
Yes,
I think that's Anna. So we really threw someone through a table.
Yeah,
and Ginny is really a stunt woman, and so she could be hoisted up into the air like 20 feet, have her neck snap and smash into the pool.
We could do it all safely too.
Yeah.
Can I just say you were right with that death scene? All right. However long you held on to that thought, it was fucking awesome. Yeah.
Oh yeah. In my mind, it's just like a roller deck of like cool deaths that I've got to put into stuff like. So if we get to do another one, I've got some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I think that wraps it up for me. Don, do you have any last things?
No, I'm just sitting here reveling in like, man, this is great. This is awesome. Now I've got to go back and watch it again to find all the Easter eggs, or at least find the screenshot by screenshot Twitter feed.
There you go.
The most interesting one is the "Where did Alan go" thing when Regina's looking for him, because that's the one that was the most expensive shot. So find that, and then it's quite satisfying.
I'm definitely going to go look for that. So.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to take a minute and tell people where they can find you online? Anything else you've got out or coming out, whatever you want to talk about?
Go for it, Haley.
Sure. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm the same handle as Haley, HALEY _Bishop, like the chess piece. And you can look me up on IMDb. I think, all the socials, Facebook. I don't think my Facebook's I think that's private, but you can look at my profile picture if you want. Yeah. No, I'm going to get hacked. Yeah. And coming up, I mean, I'm actually also a writer and produce short films as well. So I did a short, in February, it was first kind of completed, and then we went into lockdown. So as soon as I can, that will be out on the festival circuit. So it's called 1-800-D-Direct. Yeah,
Jed's
seen it.
Good.
It's a comedy.
Awesome.
It's not a horror.
For me, you can find me on Twitter at Jed Shepherd, JEDSHEPHERD. And you can find me on Instagram with the same thing. And you've probably seen, it's been announced I'm doing a film with Sam Raimi coming up. And we had a table read with Sam Raimi today, in fact.
Ooh.
And it was very, very cool, because he's my favorite director and Rob's favorite director too. So to have him give you notes on like something that you've worked on that's come out of your brain, and he's adding to it with the Sam Raimi enthusiasm, and when it's being read out, he's getting so like hype and like, yes, this is great, and you just think, oh man, like I'm at the moment, I'm having a good week. I'm having a really good week this week. But also, besides the Sam Raimi one, and I can't really say too much about it, you've seen this like a contained horror film. That's kind of all we've been put out. I directed and wrote a film called Multiplex, which is only 20 minutes long, so a bit shorter than Host, which stars the girls from Host, all of them. They're all in it. And it is set in a cinema with a brother and sister who are desperate for money, and they hear an urban legend that if you watch films in a certain order, a new screen door will appear, and there you'll find treasure. But the cinema tries to stop you, and it does that by using the films you watch against you. So if you, screen one, go to watch a martial arts movie, when you're back out into the lobby, you'll have a whole martial arts scene, and you have Gemma actually with a samurai sword trying to kill the characters.
Nice.
Yeah, and we also, and Haley and Radina play their characters from Dawn of the Deaf. So the characters go to see Dawn of the Deaf, and when they're out into the lobby, we have a scene from Dawn of the Deaf, like replicated. But we go a bit further than we did in Dawn of the Deaf, to say the least. And then we have, and Emma's the star of this, by the way. Emma's the main character, and they go to see a musical. So Emma has to perform a big musical number, and it's crazy. It's crazy, but there are similarities with the ending, actually, come to think of it. But yeah, love it. We've only shown it at one festival, the Glasgow Film Festival, which was a week before lockdown, and the reaction there was nuts. It was sold out. We got there and they said, oh, it's sold out. We're having to put on another screening because people are complaining about not being able to get in. And I was like, well, what is going on? And the reaction from people inside, and like the reaction was just crazy. People were like dancing, banging the chairs, hollering. I was like, this is insane. Like, what is going on? So I can't wait to release that. I'm just like, I can't do it now. It's too close to Host.
No.
But like soon it'll come out. I might drop a trailer soon. But yeah, that's what I'm up to.
Good. I've seen it.
Awesome.
It's great.
That's the audience I want to watch with. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey, thank you both for coming on today. This has been utterly fantastic and really cool to get to hear a bunch of the behind the scenes stuff and talk about this thing that I truly loved. And yeah,
I had so much fun.
This
Thanks
was
very much.
so fun. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming
very
on.
cool. And, we expect you guys to be back when the next one comes out. And yeah.
Deal. Everyone from now on.
Yes. We'll Zoom. It'll be, wait, no.
No.
Yeah. But can I just say, like, I've done like quite a lot of podcasts and things in the last like week, but like James and Don, you've been like the most fun, I would say, because like you guys are like a real nice dynamic, and
yeah,
it's really nice.
This was really nice.
We actually don't like each other at all.
No, it's Don's fault too.
Yeah.
But you guys don't know this, but when Teddy and I broke up, Don started dating him, and it's been all downhill from there.
I hear that.
Look, Teddy was supposed to hang out with me at the pool. Okay, he doesn't have time to seance.
Oh man! All right,
cool.
Well, so until next week, I am James Sabata,
And I'm Don Guillory.
and we will see you here at thenecronama.com.